Hey guys, hello and welcome back. As always, my name is Leyzar, and today we're going to be talking about critical hit chance and critical hit damage in Warframe. I feel this subject is not properly explained by the game, and let's be honest here, nobody really wants to read the wiki, but we will have to do that at a certain point. But first, let's talk about critical hit chance in Warframe. Let's jump into the Baza. Now this is a fairly low MR weapon and it has a critical chance of 26%. When you crit with a weapon, you will see yellow numbers initially, and you also notice a critical multiplier of 3.0x. That represents how much extra damage you are getting on a crit, so bear that one in mind. Now critical hit chance can be increased in a number of different ways depending on what kind of weapon you are trying to increase the critical hit chance on and what kind of mods you have available. Now most mods will simply increase the base critical hit chance by a percentage, which is pretty simple. Let's have a look at Point Strike. Now everybody should have this. Yes, 150% critical chance, and it increases the 26% by 150%, so it goes to 65%. So that is my chance per shot, per bullet landing on the target, regardless of multi-shot, for me to get a critical hit, go into a yellow number, and the multiplier is 3.0x. Now the bonus damage is not exactly 3.0, it's actually 2.0 because it also counts the base damage as well, so bear that one in mind. You can find that info on the wiki as well, by the way. Now there are other effects to increase your critical hit chance that do not rely on the base critical hit chance of the weapon. For example, the Smita Kavat buff would be a perfect example for that. Another example would be in melee weapons. Now melee weapons are especially comfy when it comes to critical hit chance simply because they have Blood Rush. Take a look at this one. 165% critical chance stacks with combo multiplier, and because it stacks with combo multiplier, the benefit from Blood Rush is absolutely fantastic. So basically, when it comes to melee weapons, having a base critical chance of 12-14%, something like that, already makes the weapon viable for crit through Blood Rush. But that's not all. There are also effects that simply give you a bonus additive after when it comes to crit. There we go, Maiming Strike. Now this one will get you 90% critical hit chance for a slide attack, and you see that my numbers did not increase here. What Maiming Strike is a bonus additive after, meaning that whatever I have on the weapon, it doesn't matter if it's 0% or 200% critical chance, it simply gives me that 90% on top of what I already have. So right now, if I slide with the Nikana Prime, I'm getting that 90% plus the base 20, so I have 110% critical hit chance per slide if I keep Maiming Strike on. Now that is, again, an example, and here's another one that is a tad more general, and it's called Arcane Avenger. Now Arcane Avenger once again will give you 30% critical chance for 8 seconds, it's a non-damaged effect, and this one as well is a bonus additive after. So if you have a weapon that has 0% critical chance and your buff from Arcane Avenger is up, then that weapon has a 30% critical hit chance. Now that's it for the introduction of everything. Now let's talk about more advanced stuff. What are the questions that I see most often in my videos is like, you have already a 100% critical hit chance, why are you going further into crit? Isn't that a waste? Definitely not. Let's have a look at the Dread. Hello, Mr. Dread, my favorite bow in the game by far. Now you'll notice if I go to a empty build, I got a base critical chance of 50%, and if I add Point Strike, 150% critical chance, I'm going to 125%, and you might think, hey, that doesn't matter anymore, that's enough, put on something else. But there are different tiers of crit in Warframe. You have yellow crits, orange crits, red crits, and a whole lot of other tiers that are also red. But for that, I'm gonna have to reference the wiki. Now because video editing is so goddamn awesome, we are already on the Warframe wiki, and link in the description down below if you want to check your stuff for yourself. Now if you're anything like me, you probably scrolled through all of this nonsense and met Jerry over here, and when you saw Jerry you were like, nope, thank you, I'm out of here. But you might have missed this little drop down right here. I honestly don't know why it had to be a drop down, but there you go. This is your crit level table. So from 0.01 to 100%, you have level 1 crits or yellow crits. From 100.01% to 200%, you have level 2 or orange crits, and from 200.01% to 300%, you have level 3 or red crits. And of course, there are additional levels. 4, 5, and so on and so forth. Theoretically, there can be an infinite number of critical levels, but realistically speaking, you would have a very hard time reaching level 4, and very few weapons can actually reach level 3. Now, that being said, you might be wondering, okay, why do I want it to crit in red? Just because of the pretty colors? Well, no, not exactly. You see, the crit level will affect your critical damage multiplier. And if we scroll down a little bit, you have orange crit multiplier. 2 times crit multiplier minus 1 plus 1. And if this was, for example, a red crit, then it would be 3 times and so on and so forth. You see the formula right here. It's kind of easy to understand. Total crit multi will be crit level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, times the crit multi minus 1 plus 1. It does make sense overall. And by the way, if you're interested in knowing exactly how does Blood Rush work, for example, or how does Maiming Strike work, all the explanations and the way to calculate your critical chance and critical damage are right here. Yes, you will need a little bit of patience, but there you go. Back to my dread, however. I have a 125% critical chance. What does that mean? That means that each and every arrow that lands on the target has a guaranteed yellow crit and a 25% chance at being an orange crit. If this was 225%, then all my arrows would be orange critting and a 25% chance at a red crit. My crit multi unmodded is 2.0x. Now, if I was to add Vital Sense, for example, that will bring it to 4.4x. Now, that multiplier will be getting increased depending on what kind of level am I critting on that 25% chance. So normally, what is my crit multiplier right now? Well, for yellow crits, it's gonna be 3.4x bonus damage, or 4.4x. Again, keep in mind that 1.0 from that 4.4x is the base damage that is taken into account. Your bonus damage would actually be 3.4x, and total damage would be 4.4x. Very well, but what if I was to do an orange crit? Then I simply have to apply this formula right here. Pull out the handy dandy calculatio. There we go. Now to calculate, if I was to orange crit, which I do have a 25% chance per arrow landed on the target, the formula would be quite simple. It's gonna be 2 times crit multiplier minus 1. My crit multi is 4.4, but minus 1, that is going to be 3.4 plus 1. 7.8x. 25% chance that I go to orange and my crit multi becomes 7.8x. So you see, it doesn't double it. No, definitely not. But again, it doesn't double it simply because that default crit multiplier that you see on the weapon also takes into account the base damage it would deal. You're actually getting the whole 4.4x extra. So bear that one in mind. Okay, now that's a very stripped down version of everything. Keep in mind that on the Warframe wiki, you guys will have all the necessary information you need to calculate everything for the most part. Are you interested in knowing exactly how the total crit chance is calculated? Right here, nice and simple. Base critical chance times 1 plus modded critical chance plus flat crit chance increase. This is that bonus additive after I was talking about earlier from Maiming Strike, Arcane Avenger, the Cat's Eye buff from the Kavat, times combo crit. This is how Blood Rush works for melee. This is your combo crit. This is why Blood Rush is so goddamn powerful currently in Warframe. Now there's one more thing which I guess should be mentioned, even though it gets a tad subjective. Critical zones, for example, critical headshots. Again, this is subjective. It depends on the weapon you're using. Maybe you don't want to go for headshots. It depends on player skill and so on and so forth, but let's have a quick look. Critical headshots. Certain body parts on enemies, most notably heads, will receive additional damage when struck. Dislocation-based damage increase is usually a 2.0x multiplier, but not all the times. For example, we can talk about Sonar Banshee and the weak spots she can create. But if the strike is a critical hit, then the strike receives an additional 2.0 multiplier on top of the location multiplier and the crit multiplier, and it gets really fuzzy. This means that while a normal body shot results in your weapon's listed damage before mitigation, stuff like your target having armor, for example, a critical headshot from a weapon with a 2.0x multiplier would deal 8.0x the listed damage. So as you can see, going for headshots is a very, very big deal, especially when it comes to crit chance weapons. Critical headshot damage will be damage times critical multi times headshot multiplier times hit crit multiplier, and each of them are explained over here. Again, it gets a tad subjective because it depends on what exactly weapon are you using, what is your skill. Maybe you have a hard time aiming with a controller, I don't know. And you also can read up on critical zones as well. Now, before I go, there's still one more mod which I want to talk about, or better said, a set of mods. A Vigilante set. Have a look at this one. Vigilante armament, 60% multi-shot, but that's not what's important here. The set bonus, however, is 5% chance to enhance critical hits from primary weapons. Each of the Vigilante mods will give you that 5%. So if you were to use all 6 of them, you're going to be getting 30% chance to enhance critical hits. Bear in mind that you don't have to use the entire bloody set to get the bonus. Each of them gives you 5%. But what does that mean anyway? Enhance critical hits. It refers back to the table that we looked at earlier. The levels of the critical hits. So for example, if I have a weapon with a 100% critical chance, all of my hits will be yellow. All of them are going to be yellow crits. But if I have Vigilante armaments on, all crits have a 5% chance to go to the next level. In this case, that would be orange. Take a look at the Dread right now. I have a 125% critical chance, 25% chance at an orange crit. That means that with Vigilante armaments on, I have a very small chance at going to red crits. So let's see if that can actually happen. There it is, the red crit, 292 damage. And it took a while, I'll be honest. And that's how you can get crit ups with the Vigilante set. I love the set, it is absolutely fantastic. And you know what, Vigilante armaments is one of the few sources of multi-shot when it comes to primary weapons. And that's pretty much gonna do it for the video. I hope it was helpful. If I missed anything, then by all means guys, I'm only human, so let me know in the comment section down below. But as always, my name is Lazar. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share and subscribe if you enjoy the content. If you have any feedback for me, then by all means leave it in the comment section down below. Until next time guys, bye bye.